Hi there. Now we're doing lesson 331. There is no conflict, for my will is yours. And of course, this is coming right after we just finished reading about what is the ego. And when you understand that the ego is the source of our insanity, and we draw a line and decide, I am no longer going to think with the ego, I'm only going to think with God, conflict ends because you align with the will of God. Paragraph number 1, and this is the prayer. How foolish, Father, to believe your son could cause himself to suffer. Could he make a plan for his damnation and be left without a certain way to his release? You love me, Father. You love me, Father. You could never leave me desolate to die within a world of pain and cruelty. How could I think that love has left itself? There is no will except the will of God. Fear is a dream and has no will that can conflict with yours. Capital Y, yours, with you, Father. Conflict is sleep and peace awakening. Death is illusion, life eternal truth. There is no opposition to your will. There is no conflict, for my will is yours. When we begin to realize that God created us to be the presence of love on this planet, because we are made in the image of God and God is love. When we can begin to accept ourselves as the powerful, non-physical beings that we are, receive the truth of our wholeness, of our eternalness, we begin to feel a strength within us. We begin to feel a certainty about who we are, how we matter to God, how important it is to maintain our peace, because what we're doing is we're receiving the peace that God already placed within us. So as we begin to realize this, we realize God never left us. We left God. God has never, how can love leave itself? There is no will except the will of love. If God created us by love, as love to love, what can alter what God decided? We can't stop this planet from turning, no matter how egoic we get. We can't stop what God created. And we cannot stop ourselves from being in the presence of love, but we can stop ourselves from extending it. We can stop ourselves. We can withhold love, which is what my beloved Ken had done. He began to withhold love when he wasn't getting his way. When he could manipulate me into being so afraid of losing his money, losing that protection that he was offering, when he was unwilling to examine his own fears, he basically rejected me, discarded me. But that doesn't mean he can't love me. It's just he wasn't using love. He was using fear to define our relationship, where I was using love to define it. And in my love, letting him be free to do whatever he was doing without judging it. Now, not in the beginning. I judged a lot in the beginning. Then I began to see my insanity, and that's when I decided I wanted to be egoless. So it took me a while to return to that place that I got my head straight. Paragraph number 2. Forgiveness shows us that God's will is one and that we share it. Let us look upon the holy sights forgiveness shows today, that we may find the peace of God. Amen. So we have to use the power of forgiveness. We have to look upon the holy sights. We have to look at everything as holy, because forgiveness shows us the holiness of everything. That's when we find the peace of God. My peace came when I could look at Ken and go, wow, he is a holy being that doesn't realize how holy he is. He is nothing but pure perfection that doesn't understand that he is so powerful he can choose to think with God or to think with the ego. In my seeing his holiness and recognizing that he couldn't use it because in that moment he was insane because the ego had taken over, that's what he was believing was his reality. My compassion is what allowed me to shift and see the holiness in him and forgive myself for believing that he was anything other than that. And then the peace returned to me. That's when I knew I was doing my Father's will. I was loving his children, even when his children couldn't love themselves. This is so powerful. This is so beautiful. But you cannot be in a place without conflict until you decide to will with the Father. You have to accept that what God says is true. Not what you believe and have been taught. You have to accept that there's nothing out there that can hurt you, your eternal self. There's nothing out there that can add any more value to you. Your worth was established by God. There's nothing out there that can add love to you. Love is what you are, and you are here to extend it. Beautiful, powerful lessons that take a lifetime to learn, but learn them you must if you want to be free. Thanks a bunch, and I'll see you in the next lesson.